The billionaire's kids were uncontrollable until a struggling single mom showed them true love. The 47th floor of Mercer Tower was meant to be peaceful, a pristine glass sanctuary above the city. But that morning, it sounded like a battlefield. A crash echoed against the marble walls. Another, then a panic yelp. "Aria, no, don't throw," the nanny pleaded. Too late. A ceramic figurine flew past her head and exploded against the floor. 8-year-old Aria shrieked, her face blotchy with tears. Her younger brother Leo stood on top of the couch, shaking a lamp like he was trying to scare away a ghost. "That's it," the nanny cried, grabbing her bag with trembling hands. "I'm sorry, Mr. Mercer, but I can't do this anymore." She ran for the elevator like she'd been set free from a cage. The door slid open just in time for Elias Mercer to step out, espresso in one hand, phone in the other. His expression froze. "Stacy? I just got your message. What's going on?" he called, but she was already halfway down the hallway. The penthouse looked like a war zone. Books scattered, pillows ripped open, crayons smashed into the rug. Aria glared at her father from behind a toppled bookshelf. Leo clutched her sleeve like a shadow, eyes wide. Elias exhaled, defeated. He set down his coffee, as if moving too fast might trigger another explosion. "Kids, what happened this time?" he asked softly. Neither spoke. Aria turned away. Leo hid behind her back. Just as Elias knelt to try again, the side door creaked open. A woman in a simple gray cleaning uniform stepped in carrying a box of supplies. She froze for a moment at the sight of the chaos. She didn't gasp, didn't recoil. Her expression softened instead, like she was seeing a familiar kind of hurt. "Maya Torres." "Oh, sorry," Elias said quickly, flustered. "You weren't supposed to come in yet. We're dealing with some things." "I can wait outside," she replied quietly. Didn't mean to interrupt. She started to step back, but paused. Something in the children's posture, Aria's trembling chin, Leo's shaking hands, held her in place. Maya slowly lowered herself to the floor, kneeling a few feet away from them. She didn't try to touch them, didn't even reach out. "It's loud in here today," she said softly. "That can feel really heavy." Aria blinked. Leo peeked at her from behind his sister. Maya reached into her box and pulled out a tiny crochet butterfly, its yarn wings soft and colorful from age. She set it gently on the carpet between them. "I'll leave this here," she whispered, "in case one of you wants something quiet to hold." She stood, gave Elias a small nod, and slipped out the door. For a moment, no one breathed. Then Aria crawled forward, almost cautiously. She picked up the butterfly, turning it in her hands as if it were something fragile, something safe. Leo leaned closer, whispering a tiny sound, half question, half relief. Elias watched, stunned. He didn't know who that woman really was. Just a cleaning staff, he thought. But the penthouse felt different the moment she stepped in. Softer, quieter, like the storm had shifted direction. And somewhere inside all that chaos, something small began to change. The next morning, the penthouse felt unusually quiet, as if it were waiting for someone. Aria sat cross-legged near the window, chin tucked into her knees, staring out at the city. Leo wandered in small circles, touching the edges of furniture with anxious fingers. Elias tried to keep his voice gentle as he tied his tie. "I'll be home early today," he said, but the kids barely reacted. He sighed, kissed the top of Leo's head, and left for another day of trying to hold everything together. A few minutes later, the elevator dinged. Maya stepped out carrying another box of cleaning supplies, the same faded uniform, the same quiet presence. She wasn't expecting anything unusual, but the moment she entered the suite, 2 pairs of eyes snapped toward her. Aria stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. Leo froze mid-step. Maya stopped too, more careful this time, like she remembered how easily they could be startled. "Hi," she said softly, adjusting the box in her arms. "Just here to do my rounds." Aria said nothing, but the way she hovered near Maya's path, almost waiting, was unmistakable. Maya noticed. She set her supplies down gently and crouched again, not as close as yesterday, leaving a safe distance. "I made something last night," she said, reaching into her pocket. Thought maybe one of you might like it. She pulled out a tiny felt bird, stitched with mismatched colors and a slightly crooked beak. It was simple, handmade, imperfect, exactly the kind of thing a child could love. Aria's breath caught. Leo stepped beside her. Maya didn't offer it directly to them. She walked over to a shelf near the play area and placed it there instead. Just leaving him here, she murmured. He doesn't talk much. Mostly just likes company. Aria's eyes darted to the bird, then to Maya, as if testing for a trick. Maya turned back to her supplies, giving them space. She didn't look over her shoulder. She didn't hover. She dusted a table, wiped the counter, humming a soft tune, low and steady, like something familiar from a loving home. Leo moved first this time. He approached the shelf slowly, fingertips brushing the felt bird. Aria joined him, and the two children stood together, silently inspecting the little creature. Their shoulders weren't tense anymore. Their breathing steadied. Maya glanced over only when she heard a small giggle, quick, uncertain, but real. Aria was trying to make the bird perch on Leo's head. Leo let her. Maya smiled to herself and continued working. When she finished, she walked toward the door with her box. Aria quietly stepped in front of her, blocking her way, not touching, just standing there. Her eyes were softer than yesterday, the edges no longer sharp with fear. Maya knelt slowly. Thank you for letting me clean today, she said gently. Aria didn't speak, but she reached behind her, grabbed Leo's hand, and tugged him forward so he stood beside her. She didn't say the words, but the message was clear. Please come back. Maya understood. I'll see you tomorrow, she whispered. Aria's lips twitched into the tiniest smile. Leo lifted the felt bird in a silent goodbye. When Maya left, the penthouse didn't feel like a battlefield anymore. It felt like a place where something was beginning, something quiet, slow, and healing. Maya pushed open the door to her apartment, using her hip to keep it from sticking. The hallway light flickered like it always did, and the warm smell of arroz con pollo drifted from the kitchen. Mama? Luna called, poking her head out of their small dining nook. Maya smiled, tired but soft. I'm home, mi estrella. Luna rushed over with her backpack still on. You're late. Again. I know, Maya said, brushing a strand of hair from Luna's forehead. One of the clients needed a little extra help today. Luna gave her a look, the kind that made her seem older than 10. The rich tower people again? Maya laughed under her breath. Yes, the rich tower people again. She dropped her bag on the couch, a saggy, second-hand thing covered in Luna's doodle pillows, and took a deep breath. Her back ached. Her knees cracked. Her hands smelled like lemon cleaner, no matter how many times she washed them. Luna watched her too closely. Did they at least treat you nice? Maya hesitated, thinking of Aria's trembling hands and Leo's wide eyes, and the way those kids had stared at her as if she were the first safe thing they'd seen in a long time. Some of them did. Maya finally said. Luna narrowed her eyes. You're doing that thing. What thing? The thing where you pretend you're fine, so I won't worry. Maya chuckled, though there wasn't much humor in it. You're too smart for me. You're too tired for me, Luna countered, crossing her arms. Maya pulled her into a hug. I'm exactly tired enough to still make dinner with you. You mean reheat leftovers. Luna corrected into her mother's shoulder. That counts as cooking, Maya insisted, kissing the top of her head. They moved to the kitchen together, shoulder to shoulder. Luna grabbed plates while Maya warmed the food, her eyelids drooping with every second she stood still. Mom, Luna asked softly as they sat down. You help everyone. Maya looked up, surprised by the seriousness in her daughter's tone. That's what you do, Luna said. When someone's hurting, you jump to help them. Even when you're tired, even when it's not your job. Maya opened her mouth to answer, but found she didn't have the right words. She smoothed the curl behind Luna's ear. Someone did that for me once, she whispered. A long time ago, when I needed it. I just tried to pass it on. Luna nodded like she understood, even though she couldn't possibly know all of it. The past Maya kept tucked away, the struggles she didn't talk about, the 1,000 quiet battles she fought so her daughter could sleep safely at night. They finished dinner, washed the dishes together, and curled up on the couch under a blanket full of patches Maya had sewn over the years. Luna rested her head on Maya's arm. "Mama?" "Yeah." "Are you going back there tomorrow?" Maya thought of Aria's silent plea, Leo's small smile with the felt bird in his hands. "Yes," she said, almost to herself. "I think I should." Luna didn't question it. She simply tightened her hold on her mother's arm and whispered, "They're lucky you show up for people." Maya closed her eyes, wishing she believed she had anything more to offer than tired hands and a soft voice. But somewhere deep inside, she felt that quiet stirring again, the one that had begun the moment she saw two frightened children hiding behind chaos. She didn't know what it meant yet, only that she'd be going back. The next morning, the Mercer penthouse felt different. Not quieter, not calmer, just waiting. Aria sat cross-legged near the window again, fingers fidgeting with the hem of her dress. Leo leaned against the couch, his small body stiff, eyes scanning the room like he was expecting trouble. The nanny had already quit. Again, Elias was running late. And yet, somewhere between the spilled toys and the toppled lamp, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. A soft knock echoed at the door. Aria's head snapped up. Leo froze mid-step. Their small eyes found the source immediately. Maya stepped in carrying her cleaning box. She smiled softly, like the sun had come through clouds. "Good morning," she said. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. Aria and Leo didn't respond, not yet, but they didn't run away either. Maya set her box down and crouched a few feet from them, careful not to invade their space. She pulled out a small, smooth wooden duck she had carved the night before. Its edges were rounded and warm from her hands. She placed it gently on the floor, between them. "It's for you," she whispered. "In case you want someone to watch over you while I clean." Aria's eyes flickered to the duck. She hesitated. Then Leo inched forward, touching the smooth wood with cautious fingers. Aria mirrored him. Maya didn't speak. She didn't hover. She just cleaned quietly, humming under her breath. Minutes passed. The children's breathing slowed. Aria rested her hands on the duck. Leo leaned close, watching the gentle movements of her fingers. Something subtle shifted. A shoulder relaxed. A hand stopped trembling. When Maya packed up to leave, Aria didn't move. Leo stayed put too, watching her carefully. Maya knelt for a moment near the door. "I'll be back tomorrow," she said softly. Aria's small hand brushed against Leo's. He nodded ever so slightly, a silent agreement. They didn't run, didn't hide, didn't scream. Instead, they waited, and in that quiet waiting, Maya realized something. The chaos wasn't gone, it had learned patience. The children were learning to trust her, one small wooden animal at a time. As she walked toward the elevator, she glanced back. Aria had her hands folded neatly around the duck. Leo was perched at her side, eyes wide but steady. Maya's chest ached with something she hadn't expected. Hope. For the first time, the penthouse didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like a room that could heal. And tomorrow, she knew, they would be waiting for her again. The next week passed in a series of quiet, deliberate moments. Maya didn't try to force anything. She didn't lecture. She didn't ask them to be perfect. She simply showed up, and slowly, the children began to notice. On Monday, she left a tiny hand-painted wooden fox on the coffee table, its tail curled around its little body, smooth and soft to touch. Aria picked it up first, turning it over in her hands like it was the most precious thing she had ever seen. Leo followed, brushing his fingers across the little carved ears. A small smile tugged at his lips, almost imperceptible. On Tuesday, Maya brought a tiny jar of marbles, clear, blue, and green. She didn't tell them to play, didn't try to organize a game. She just left it on the floor near the couch. By the end of the afternoon, Aria had lined the marbles in a neat spiral, and Leo had carefully pushed one around the circle again and again, mesmerized by the way it rolled. On Wednesday, Maya placed a soft, embroidered star on the arm of the sofa. She whispered, "For someone who wants to shine a little brighter today." She didn't demand that they smile or speak. But Arya hugged the star tightly to her chest, and for the first time, her shoulders relaxed. Thursday, she left a small painted heart on the windowsill, perfectly balanced. Leo ran his fingers along its edges, tracing the curves as if memorizing every line. Arya touched it after him, and for a brief second, their fingers met over the wooden heart. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. On Friday, Maya carved a tiny bird and placed it near the rug where they always sat. She watched from across the room, pretending to dust a shelf, pretending to be busy. But really, she was holding her breath. Arya reached for it first. Leo hesitated, then leaned in. Their small hands brushed again, and this time neither pulled away. The penthouse, which had been a storm zone, felt different now. The wooden animals, the marbles, the star, the heart, they weren't just objects. They were gestures. They were signs of care. Small, soft, patient gestures that said, "You are safe. You are seen. You are not alone." Maya didn't need words. She didn't need praise. She only needed to be present. By the end of the week, Arya and Leo didn't hide the way they had on Monday. They watched her move around the room, their eyes following her, a quiet anticipation humming in their chests. And when Maya left that Friday evening, the smallest, quietest miracle happened. Arya set the bird on the floor and turned to Leo. She touched his arm gently. He looked at her, eyes wide. They didn't speak, but they didn't need to. The message was clear. We notice you. We trust you. And Maya realized with a lump in her throat that 5 tiny gestures, left with nothing more than care, had begun to change everything. It had been nearly a month since Maya started leaving little gifts and quietly sharing the space with Arya and Leo. She didn't push. She didn't demand. She simply stayed. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to shift. One evening, the penthouse was unusually still. Arya sat near the window. The small wooden fox clutched to her chest. Leo perched on the couch arm, tracing the edges of the embroidered star Maya had left the day before. Their bodies were still tense, but their eyes followed every move Maya made, no longer filled with fear, but curiosity. Maya set down her cleaning supplies and crouched near the floor, careful to leave space between them. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small wooden heart, smooth and warm in her palm. "This one is for someone brave," she whispered, placing it gently between the two of them. Arya hesitated. Her fingers hovered above the heart. Then Leo, slowly, carefully, leaned forward and touched it. Arya's hand followed. Their small hands met over the wooden heart, trembling at first, then steadying. Maya said nothing, just kept her distance. She didn't want to scare them. She didn't want to rush it. Then, almost imperceptibly, Arya's lips parted. A soft sound slipped out. Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. Leo's eyes went wide. He looked at her, then at Maya, then back at Arya. His own small voice, rusty from disuse, pushed past his lips. "Why, yeah, thank you." Maya froze for a moment, her heart hammering. She knelt slowly, hands folded in her lap, face calm. "That's all," she said gently. "No one's asking for more. You don't have to say anything else if you don't want to." Arya and Leo exchanged a glance, then touched the wooden heart again, tracing its edges in silence. But their small voices had broken the wall they had built around themselves. "More, please," Arya said after a moment, voice small but clear. Leo nodded. "Please." Maya smiled softly, her chest tight with emotion. She didn't rush. She simply acknowledged them. "Of course," she said. "You can take your time. I'll be right here." The next few evenings were filled with small words, whisper at first, then louder, more confident. They began to speak in short sentences, asking for a story, a glass of water, the little animals Maya had carved. Every word was a victory. Every small sentence a bridge to the world they had shut out for so long. And Maya realized that it wasn't the gifts or the carvings that had done it. It was her patience, her quiet presence, the way she had shown them day after day that they could be safe, even when the world felt chaotic. By the end of the week, Arya and Leo were laughing softly, their voices blending with the hum of the city outside the glass walls. Maya watched them from across the room, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, hope. Because for the first time, the children weren't just seen, they were being heard. And that was the moment she knew. Their silence had finally begun to break. Elias returned to the penthouse later that evening, exhausted from back-to-back meetings. His ties slightly loosened, briefcase heavy with contracts he barely remembered signing. The elevator doors opened, and for a moment, he felt that familiar tension in the air, the kind that made him sigh before even stepping inside. But tonight, it was different. He stepped into the suite and froze. Arya and Leo sat on a rug, small wooden animals carefully arranged around them like a circle of trust. Their heads were close together, whispering softly, their voices timid but certain. Maya knelt a few feet away, carefully carving another tiny bird, her eyes lifting only occasionally to check on them. For the first time, Elias didn't feel frustrated. He felt stunned. Elias? Maya's voice broke through his daze. She didn't look up, only gave a small, calm nod. He swallowed hard and crouched down at the edge of the rug. Arya glanced at him, Leo's hand brushing against hers, but neither moved to hide. What's happening here? He asked softly, unsure if he wanted an answer. Maya didn't answer with words. She simply gestured toward the circle of wooden animals. Elias's gaze followed. Arya's small voice, shaky but clear, said, We made them for you, so you know we trust you. Leo added, and Maya helps us. His voice cracked, but he said it anyway. Elias felt a lump rise in his throat. He looked at Maya, really looked at her. The tired hands, the soft eyes, the patience that had refused to give up. He realized in that moment that she hadn't just been cleaning the penthouse. She had been cleaning their hearts. He swallowed hard, voice low. I didn't know it could be like this. Maya smiled faintly, keeping her voice calm. They needed time and a little quiet. You can't rush trust, Elias. You just have to show up. Elias nodded slowly, his eyes returning to the children. Arya smiled a tiny, genuine smile, and Leo's eyes sparkled with something he hadn't seen in months, relief and maybe even joy. You've changed everything, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. I thought I had control ever to make sure they behaved, but all this time, all you did was see them. Really see them. Maya's hand rested lightly on her carving. Sometimes that's all anyone needs, she said softly. To be seen, to be safe. Elias exhaled, letting tension melt from his shoulders. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for not noticing sooner, for expecting them to be perfect. Arya reached out her small hand and brushed against his, a silent gesture that said more than words ever could. Leo mirrored her, leaning slightly closer. Elias felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't felt in years. He realized that being a parent wasn't about control or rules or schedules. It was about presence. And for the first time in a long time, he understood. Maya looked at him, her voice steady, patient. They're starting to speak, not just with words, but with their hearts. And now maybe you can too. Elias swallowed again, this time with hope. He crouched closer to the rug, shoulder to shoulder with Maya. He watched as Arya and Leo shared a small laugh, their voices mingling with the quiet hum of the penthouse. The truth was undeniable. It wasn't discipline or wealth that the children needed. It was love, patience, and someone willing to see them, even when no one else did. And tonight, Elias saw it. Weeks passed, and the penthouse began to feel different, not just quieter, but alive. Arya and Leo no longer flinched at every raised voice, no longer hid when adults entered the room. They were learning that someone could care without demanding, that someone could stay without judging. One afternoon, Maya brought Luna along. The moment the little girl stepped into the penthouse, Arya's eyes widened. Leo froze for a split second, then relaxed, curiosity overtaking caution. Luna ran forward, backpack bouncing, and hugged Maya tightly. Mama, can I help? Maya smiled, brushing Luna's hair back. Of course, Mi Estrella. You can help them see that they're safe too. Arya and Leo exchanged a glance, small smiles tugging at their lips. Slowly, hesitantly, they reached out, allowing Luna to join their circle of wooden animals. The three children began to play quietly, sharing the carved birds and foxes, the embroidered stars and hearts. Elias watched from the sofa, leaning toward Maya. "You did this," he said softly, awe in his voice. Maya shook her head gently. "We did this. All of us. Just together." Elias's hand found hers, and they squeezed it tightly. The children's laughter, small but real, filled the room. For the first time, the two families, one broken by loss, the other by fear, fell whole. No words were needed. The circle of children, the wooden animals, and the quiet presence of love were enough. Two families had become one, slowly, patiently, with nothing more than time, care, and the courage to be present. And in that moment, the penthouse didn't feel like a place of chaos. It felt like home. It was a quiet evening. The penthouse windows glowed with the city lights, and the children were scattered across the living room floor, small wooden animals and marbles arranged in careful patterns. Maya sat nearby, carving a tiny fox, her movement slow, deliberate, peaceful. Leo sat cross-legged, tracing the edges of a painted heart Maya had left earlier. His fingers trembled slightly, but he didn't pull away. Arya sat beside him, fidgeting with a carved bird. For the first time, neither child seemed afraid to make a sound. Leo took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the heart. He looked at Maya, then at Arya, then back at the wooden carving in his hands. Maya, his voice was small, cracked, almost foreign in its hesitance, but it was there. It was real. Maya froze, her carving resting on her lap. She looked up, her heart thudding. "Yes, Leo?" she asked softly, careful not to startle him. I like this," he said, voice growing steadier with each word. He lifted the heart slightly, showing her. It makes me happy." Arya's eyes went wide. She looked at her brother, then at Maya, then whispered her own small words. "Me too." Maya felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. She knelt closer, her voice gentle. "Thank you for sharing that with me. That was beautiful." Leo grinned, tiny and shy, but full of pride. He had spoken. He had crossed the barrier of silence, not because anyone demanded it, not because anyone forced him, but because he felt safe. Arya leaned against him, small hands clutching her bird, and whispered again, we can speak." Maya reached out, touching their small hands lightly. "You've always been able to. You just needed time and someone who would wait." For the first time in months, the penthouse felt lighter. The air itself seemed to hold a quiet celebration. The children had found their voices. Not fully, not all at once, but enough to know that speaking could be safe, that being heard could feel good. And Maya, sitting between them, felt a swell of hope she hadn't known she could carry. The quiet miracle of trust, patience, and love. Spring sunlight streamed to the penthouse windows, casting golden patterns across the floor. Arya and Leo were busy arranging their wooden animals and painted hearts in neat little rows, laughing quietly with Luna. Their voices were soft, confident, unafraid, a sound that had once been missing entirely. Maya sat nearby, carving a tiny bird, glancing up now and then to watch the children. Elias stood behind her, arms wrapped around her shoulders, watching their three children with a mix of awe and gratitude. For the first time, the penthouse wasn't a place of chaos or frustration. It was alive with warmth, with laughter, with belonging. Leo looked up from his arrangement, eyes bright. Maya, we love this." Arya nodded, her small voice firm and clear. "We love you. We love all of us." Maya felt a lump rise in her throat, tears threatening to spill. She smiled softly. "I love all of you too. And together, we're a family now." Elias knelt beside her, taking her hand. "We've been given a second chance," he whispered. "Not just for the children, but for us, too." The children ran forward, arms wrapping around both Maya and Elias. Laughter, soft words, whispered promises of trust and love. They filled the room like sunlight, the wooden animals, the painted hearts, the small patient gestures. They had built something far greater than anyone had imagined. A family whole at last, born not from perfection, but from patience, presence, and love. Maya looked around at the three children, at Elias, at the home they had created together. "We're ready," she said softly, "for everything the future holds. Together." Elias squeezed her hand, smiling. "Together." The camera pans over the little wooden animals, each one a reminder that healing comes slowly, gently, and that love, real love, is patient, kind, and present. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that broken pieces can become something beautiful, don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales TV. Share it with someone who needs hope today, and join us for more stories that lift the soul.